Here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. Chase Sr. here with you. And as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up, NFL Week 6 preview. NFC East rivalry renewed. Philadelphia Eagles hitting the road to play the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium in this Week 6 matchup. Philadelphia, by nobody's surprise, 7.5-point favorites. The over-under for this game, low once again at 41, because both of these offensive units have really been struggling. Kickoff set Thursday, as we have some Thursday Night Football. October 9th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern, and this is a get-right game for Philadelphia. If you think the Eagles will crush the New York Giants, get this offense on track, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If not, I want you to comment why. And with that, this is the most detailed Eagles-Giants preview that you'll find here on YouTube. So let's run it up and get it started. And right here on Philadelphia Eagles Now on Thursday night, we will be live for another watch party. Here on the channel, we go live for every single Eagles game, and we try to make it a fun fan atmosphere, the best place to experience an Eagles game day outside of being at the actual game. We'll do a pregame show. We'll be live during the game. Audience interaction, live play-by-play analysis. We'll ride that wave and that roller coaster together because every game for the Eagles this year has been a roller coaster. Then we'll be live for a post-game reaction show. Our coverage begins on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there. Lock us in, hit that sub button, and don't forget to hit that bell icon. Turn on your notifications. Therefore, anytime I push out a show like this, anytime we do go live, you will get that push notification. Both of these teams coming off bad losses in Week 5. And both of these teams have fan bases that are very fed up with what transpired last Sunday. Philadelphia lost at home against the Denver Broncos. The Eagles gave up 18 unanswered fourth quarter points to blow a 17-3 lead. And the New York Giants went on the road to play the then winless Saints, and New Orleans able to pick up their first dub of the year. The Giants went up 14-3. 2 Jackson Dart touchdown passes early. Everything was looking good coming off the heels of that Giants upset victory against the Chargers a week prior. Then the Giants lost the turnover battle 5-0, and they were outscored after going up 14-3, 23-0 the rest of the way. And I'll say this, and I'll make this very clear. I said this to Chip right before the show. No excuses in this game for Philadelphia. They have to dominate, and the offense has to come to play. If that doesn't happen, we sound the alarm bells, and I will rant and rave right here on this show. This Giants team is an awful football team, and I know a lot of Giants fans are watching. I'm glad you're hanging out here, and this isn't going to be an overly biased preview. I'm just passing along facts, and you know your football team isn't that good. The Eagles are the much better coach team. They have a better owner, a better GM. They have more talent. They have more depth. And Philadelphia should be able to shellac the G-men and get this football team on track. If the Eagles do not accomplish that, that is a massive concern for Philadelphia moving forward. And then we'll start to put together the ties of the 2025 Eagles to the 2023 Eagles, because both teams perhaps may have gotten off to fluky starts. We know what happened in 2023, coming off that Super Bowl defeat in 2022. Eagles started 10-1, lost 6 of 7 to end the year, including a listless playoff defeat. This year, Eagles now 4-1. We knew they weren't going to go undefeated, but there have been some blemishes on the resume. There have been some flaws, and we have to keep our eyes peeled toward that. Could this help, though? All year, we've been hearing from this Eagles offense. Not everybody is on page. Get everybody on the same page. Well, yesterday, according to Jimmy Kempski of Philly Voice, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Saquon Barkley had a long, positive conversation that lasted a couple of hours. And there is no doubt that it was Saquon Barkley who got this conversation going. Obviously, he's a great football player, but he's a phenomenal leader and a team captain for this Eagles team. He is a huge element of their culture. And he has this way, he did it at Penn State, Did it at Whitehall High School, doing it with Philadelphia, did it with the Giants. Has the ability to bring people together. And obviously, A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts haven't been able to get on the same page offensively. And obviously, they've clashed a little bit. Their relationship, not the same relationship they had early in their career several years ago when Hurts was the godfather of A.J. Brown's child. Now, they do have a good professional working relationship, but the friendship isn't necessarily there. And I think that's a big reason why him and AJ have clashed a little bit. They haven't seen eye to eye, and that's resulted in clunky performances from time to time between Jalen getting the ball to AJ and this Eagles offense being a very Jekyll and Hyde unit. And as I'm talking about this, I'm also thinking back to what Brandon Graham said last year after A.J. Brown went public with the Eagles' offensive issues and concerns. He said, when you're making mistakes and you're the vocal one, sometimes you need to take accountability. And he said, Jalen Hurts is trying. That was pretty notable at that time, and obviously it's notable now because there has to be a little bit of a rift because something is a little bit off. And hopefully that meeting can pay big dividends and get them both on track. With this much talent for this ball club, there is no reason that the Eagles' offensive struggles should continue the rest of the year. And there's no reason that this Eagles offense should continue to struggle in this Week 6 matchup against the New York Giants. And it's funny sometimes how things and timing works. Remember early last year when the Eagles got off to that 2-2 start and everybody was calling for Nick Sirianni to get fired? The offense wasn't good. Kellen Moore was on the hot seat. And a lot of the same issues that we saw then were happening early in the season then, and they're happening right now, right? Eagles started last year with that good Week 1 win over the Green Bay Packers, but they turned it over 3 times in that game, 2 times on the first 2 drives of the game. Then they lose Week 2 against a bad Atlanta Falcons team. The Saquon Barkley drop and the defense collapsed late in the game. Hurts through that game-ending pick. Then the Eagles go on the road. They only score 15 points against the New Orleans Saints. They win by 3. Week 4, they go on the road. No Lane Johnson, no A.J. Brown, no Devontae Smith. But it was a spiritless performance from Philadelphia. They lost to the Buccaneers 33-16. They had that Week 5 bye, which when the schedule came out, we were saying, that's way too early. It turns out, given how things were going and transpiring for the Eagles that year, it came at the perfect time because they were able to catch their breath a little bit and reassess what they wanted their identity to be as a football team. Now, in Week 6, they barely beat the Browns 20-16, and that's when Nick Sirianni was yapping with some Eagles fans at the link. But then after that win, the ball got rolling for Philadelphia. And it happened in Week 7 with a 28-3 win over the Giants. Then in Week 8, they went on the road, and they dominated the Joe Burrow-led Bengals 37-17. The rest of the schedule, the only time that the Eagles lost a game was when Jalen Hurts got knocked out early against the Commanders. And it was really that Giants game that got the offense mowing. You look at the Eagles so far this year, and obviously in all of these games, the offense hasn't been able to put together a full 60 minutes and a full 4 quarters. They haven't played their best football, of course, but we've certainly seen some moments. Can this Giants game be the get-right game that I mentioned that gets this team on track? Let's hope so, because this team has too much talent, and they've got an opportunity to go on a dynastic run. That's what the Eagles have done so far, beating the Cowboys, Chiefs, Rams, Bucks, all quality wins against playoff-level teams. Then they lose to one of the top defenses in the NFL, 21-17, and obviously the offense collapsed after the first 2+ quarters of that game, and in the fourth quarter, they gave up 18 unanswered points. The Giants so far, ugly loss Week 1 against the Commanders, 26-6. Then they lose in overtime to the Cowboys in Week 2 at Jerry World, 40-37. Russell Wilson went bonkers in that game. They lose in primetime to the Chiefs, 22-9, and Russell Wilson was awful. They bench Russ. Jackson Dart makes his first career start against the 3-0 Chargers at the time. He ran the ball effectively, so too did Cam Scatterbo. The defense played pretty well. Chargers a banged-up team, but a quality win in Dart's first start against a solid team in the Chargers 21-18, and then they reverted to what they did the prior 3 weeks. A disjointed team that is poorly coached, turning the football over a lot, and they fall to the Saints 26-14. As for some injury news, this was the Eagles' estimated injury report on Monday. I'm recording this show early Tuesday morning on this beautiful October 7th. I'm so glad all of you are hanging out here with me. Saquon Barkley would have not practiced if the Eagles were on the field on Monday with a knee injury, so he was a DNP. Grant Calcaterra oblique, also a DNP. Landon Dickerson with the ankle. He's looked 60 to 70% all year health-wise, and he's played like it. Also a DNP. 2 limited participants, Jahad Campbell biceps, Byron Young triceps, and then Nakobe Dean, a full participant. What a recovery from that patellar tendon injury. Speaking of Saquon Barkley here, it's really inexcusable with this offensive line, with Saquon, with the running threat that Jalen Hurts is, with the receiver talent that the Eagles have with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, that the Eagles have struggled this much to run the ball. And it's not for a lack of carries over the grand sum of the season so far. Obviously, Saquon only got 6 carries against the Broncos on Sunday, but the Eagles' rush play percentage, they run it nearly 48% of the time, 7th most in the NFL. But their yards per rush is 3.5, 29th among the 32 teams in the NFL. Their rushes per game, kind of like rush play percentage here, but in this form of carries, 28.4 running attempts per game. That's 8th, but their rushing yards per game is under 100. A far cry from what they did last year. 99.8, 25th in the NFL. Their rushing touchdowns per game is up, mostly because of the tush-push brotherly shove at 1.4. That's number 4 in the NFL. As far as that Saquon Barkley injury goes, I did a YouTube short on this and said we're going to continue to monitor this all throughout the week because he's such a unique and special player. The Eagles desperately need and want to get him on track, but it's a short week. You're going up against your former team for Saquon, and the MetLife turf surface, probably the worst in professional sports, not just football. Here's what Rappaport had to say about the status of Saquon. He had general soreness coming out of the game on Sunday, fully expects to play Thursday night against the Giants. Obviously, that's a good sign. We flip the page to the Giants injury report. Again, this was their estimated injury report. Teams who play on Thursday need to release these on Monday. The DNPs. Swayze Bozeman, linebacker, ankle. Offensive tackle Jermaine Illuminor, back. Linebacker Demetrius Flanagan fouls, hamstring. Wide receiver Darius Slayton, hamstring. So all those players would not have practiced for the G-men. Limited. Dane Belton, Jackson Dart, hamstring. Javon Holland, Tyler Nubin, Drew Phillips, and Tyrone Tracy, obviously their respective injuries listed there as well. In scouting the New York Giants, I think we're going to see a regime change for New York after this year. Joe Schoen has not done a good enough job of stacking up this roster with talent. And early on, a lot of Giants fans really liked him. He came over from the Buffalo Bills, and he did some decent things. But this team is bereft of roster depth, overall elite talent outside of the defensive line. And in losing Malik Neighbors, their wide receiver room now, probably the worst in the NFL, and that's not good for a rookie quarterback who you're trying to develop. Jackson Dart, I will say, has a lot of juice. I liked him coming out of Ole Miss. I know a lot of Lane Kiffin quarterbacks haven't worked out at the NFL level. I think Dart has a chance if he gets quality coaching and talent around him, plays with fire, plays with swagger, plays with confidence. He's very mobile and can make plays happen with his legs. He also has a rifle for an arm, and he can really fit the ball into some tight windows. He did that against the Saints, made some solid throws throughout the preseason, good throws against the Chargers. Obviously, the bad coaching and the lack of supporting cast can hurt him, but he does have a good running back in fellow rookie Cam Scadaboo, who alongside Dart, they are two culture setters and changers for this Giants organization moving forward. A strength of this Giants team, an elite defensive line. Talent-wise, name recognition-wise, one of the top units in the NFL. Dexter Lawrence is the best nose tackle in football. Not defensive tackle, it's different. And I really like Abdul Carter. I thought he should have gone number 1 in the draft. He was my favorite player personally. I know the Titans needed a quarterback, but loved him coming out of Penn State. Kayvon Thibodeau is a dog, and Brian Burns is one of the top pass rushers in the game. So you think of them as elite. The production has just been okay. But in any given game, they can really pop off, and obviously they'll be motivated to play the Philadelphia Eagles. So too will the Birds. So who you got in this football game? Type PHI for the Eagles, NYG for the New York Giants. Get those predictions in down in the comment section right now. I'll give you my prediction at the end of the show. Coming up next, you don't want to miss this. Fantastic analysis here. Keys to the game, matchups to watch, what the Eagles must do to take down the New York Giants. But before we get into all of that, I know a lot of you really love this Eagles Chubbies polo that I've worn here on the show. And there are 2 Eagles Chubbies polos that I've rocked here. Love the color scheme, like the creativity. I like how vibrant they are. It's so great to wear any time of the year, but it's an item that when you wear it, people are going to say, that's really cool. Well, I have good news for all of you. You can get 20% off this, all of their products, these Eagles swim trunks, if you use our link down below, chubbyshorts.com/chatsports, and use the code CHATSPORTS. And let me tell you about their other items, right? Look, the leaves are turning, the temperatures are dropping, the weekend air is getting that nice autumn crisp. I love this time of year. Just because the weather is changing doesn't mean you have to pack away your fun clothing items. Chubbies is here to make sure your fall wardrobe is hitting. They have fall-ready staples built for maximum comfort and minimal effort. The Chubbies fall collection just dropped, and it's packed with cozy gear that brings a metaphorical and real heat. There's a new comfort collection that's awesome. It features the everywhere jogger. It's a perfect pant for impromptu naps, weekend errands, and everything in between. We all agree fall should be cozy, right? Not constricting. And Chubbies delivers peak softness without sacrificing an ounce of style. So go ahead, break up the stiff pants, and embrace the fun side of fall. Comfy, casual, built for life clothing. You have to get the original stretch shorts, the classic line swim trunks, the Chubbies performance polos. They're all awesome. So here is the deal. Whether you're layering up for tailgates, lounging through lazy Sundays, or just leaning fully into fall comfort, Chubbies has you covered. For a limited time, they're giving our listeners, this is a new deal, 20% off your order using the code CHATSPORTS at chubbyshorts.com/chatsports. That's code CHATSPORTS at chubbyshorts.com/chatsports. Support the show and enhance your wardrobe with Chubbies. I promise you, you won't regret that. All right, to the back half of the show, really where our preview starts to pick up a lot of juice from a matchup perspective. Let's dive in. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now. My name is Chase Senior. Thanks for hanging out here with me. Coming up on the show, keys to the game, matchups to watch, what Philadelphia must do to win this game against the New York Giants, and of course, my prediction as this NFC East rivalry is renewed on Thursday Night Football. Let's first take a look at how both sides of the ball have performed so far through 5 games for both Philadelphia and New York. Obviously, for the Eagles offense, it has been a very up and down season, and they need to become a more consistent offense. They've lacked explosive plays. The run game hasn't gotten going. They haven't played a full 60 minutes, and the pass game has been hit and miss. They're 12th in points per game at 25 per, 30th in yards per game at 261.6, 29th in yards per play at 4.4, 23rd in third down conversion rate at 37.8%. They did not score a touchdown on their first red zone trip against the Broncos, who happen to have the number 1 red zone defense in the NFL, but Philadelphia is still number 1 there with the red zone touchdown percentage at 92.3%. Defensively, I do think the numbers aren't as good as how the Eagles have played. And of course, they did give up those 18 fourth quarter points against Denver, but it's because they wore down because the offense couldn't do anything, went on a bunch of short drives, and because of that, the Eagles defense got fatigued. 16th in points per game, 20th in yards per game, 16th in yards per play, 9th on third downs. They're getting off the field, and that number has gotten better, especially with that performance against Denver. And then they're really good and sound in the red zone. Number 3 there, giving up a touchdown just 42.8% of the time. When I say that the Giants are a bad football team, this is what I mean. They are mid to bad all across the board in all 3 phases. 28th in points per game offensively, 17.4. Not going to win a lot of games like that. 19th in yards per game at 320.6. 25th in yards per play, 4.9. 30th on third downs at 32.3%. Dead last in the red zone at 31.5%. They're also horrible on the opening drive of the game and in the first quarter. That's a sign of bad coaching. Defensively, the defensive line is awesome, but the rest of the defense, not that good. 22 in points per game at 25.4. 26th in yards per game at nearly 400, 377.2. 23rd in yards per play at 5.7. 24th on third downs at 43.2%. They are solid in the red zone, top 10 there, number 9 at 57.1%. It's part of the reason why they've been able to keep some of these games close. Now let's shift gears to my keys to the game. This has to be the get-right game on the offensive side of the football for the Philadelphia Eagles. And obviously, Kevin Patullo is under a lot of fire right now, rightfully so. Do some of the players have to do a better job of executing, handling their assignments? Yes. Can the Eagles avoid some pre-snap penalties? For sure. Can Saquon Barkley get in place, which wiped out a huge pass downfield from Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith? For sure. And I'd put that on the players as compared to the coaches, even though the coaches have to coach that up so that the team avoids it. But Kevin Patullo definitely needs to do a better job. And I was thinking about this after going back and watching the tape and the tape study that I've done all year. The biggest issues with Kevin Patullo, he lacks feel as a play caller. And what I mean by that, when you watch Vic Fangio call the defense, you know he's been doing this for a while. You know that he's been a defensive coordinator and a play caller for decades. He has a great feel for the game as a play caller. That can lead to a lot of sound in-game adjustments because you have a feel for what's going on. Vance Joseph of the Denver Broncos, been calling plays for a long time. He has a feel as a play caller. And that's why Denver is one of the top defenses in the NFL. What did the Broncos do against Philadelphia? Their defense was bad in the first half because they played man. They play man about 40% of the time. Jalen Hurts cooks man defenses. What did they do in the second half? Feel. They switched to zone, and the Eagles' offense pissed down their leg. And so it just helps you make some adjustments when you have feel as a play caller. You're able to get your unit in rhythm. And another thing with Patullo where he's struggling, he struggles to sequence plays. You might see a really good play here and a really good play there. You might see a good quarter, a good half, a good drive. But can you sequence plays consistently? And as part of that, this is a scheme problem, but it's also a play calling problem. When you're up 17-3 in the second half against the Denver Broncos and Saquon Barkley gets one carry after recess, it's inexcusable and it's play calling malpractice. And so in that regard, Kevin Patullo's inexperience as a play caller has shown it's been on display. And obviously we knew the risk going in of his internal promotion, given that this team is built to win a Super Bowl right now. And this man to my right has never called plays before. On the bright side, there have been some glimpses of good. First half in week 1 against the Cowboys. The Eagles scored touchdowns on their first 3 drives of the game, all 3 drives in the first half. Then the weather delay hit, and they were bad. So too was the Cowboys offense, which was good before the weather delay. It really halted momentum and flow for the offensive units. In the second week of the season, the clutch plays against the Chiefs, having answers against the blitz. Some good stuff there, right? In the first half against the Rams, the Eagles were terrible. Then they pop off 26 unanswered to come back and stun the Rams. And in that second half, the pass game looked awesome. Jalen Hurts played like an MVP. They established momentum. They were consistent. They had a rhythm. First half against the Bucs, it was great to see the second half of the Rams game carry over into the first half against the Bucs game. You saw some creativity. You saw some plays that we haven't seen before. Kevin Patullo went deep into the playbook. That Dallas Goedert touchdown with the quads right, that's been in the playbook for the last 4 or 5 years. Patullo brings it out. Second half, the tush-push trickery to Saquon Barkley completely fooled that Buccaneers defense. But in the second half, Jalen Hurts did not complete a pass. Not good. First half against the Broncos, against man, awesome. Second half against the Broncos when they played zone. Eagles couldn't do anything after the opening drive of the game when Saquon Barkley caught that wheel route. The wheel route, a great play. You identify a weakness on that Broncos defense, which is their linebackers in coverage, and you exploit it. From that point forward, the Eagles had, less than 50 yards offensively? Can't happen with a bunch of punts and a bunch of 3-and-outs. And they only gave one carry to Saquon Barkley. Not good enough. Key to the game number 2. This is a great opportunity for this Eagles team to get their ground game humming. And obviously, Saquon wouldn't have practiced on Monday because of knee soreness. The expectation is that he's going to play against his former team. He knows MetLife Stadium very well. This Giants defense against the run all year has been atrocious. They're giving up 5.3 yards per rush, 29th in the NFL. They're surrendering 140 rushing yards per ball game. That ranks 26th. And opponents are running it 26.2 times per game. Saquon had 11 carries, I believe, against Denver. You have to run him more, and you have to exploit and take advantage of a bad Giants rushing defense. And for Saquon, 6 carries against the Broncos, 1 in the second half. That is not the Eagles' identity. I think the Eagles, going back to that number that I just spit out there, I think they had 11 carries as a team. Saquon had 6 carries in the game, 1 in the second half. One of them went for 17 yards. That little toss to the left, Kevin Patullo didn't call that play again. This just isn't the Eagles' identity. They want to be a running team. They want to be a balanced offense. And sometimes when wide receivers pop off and complain about targets and their roles, you overcompensate. That's what Kevin Patullo did. His inexperience showing once again. He's like, I got to keep A.J. Brown happy. But it took Saquon Barkley out of the game, and that's not the Eagles' strength. And it also just comes down to the Eagles' offensive line playing better. This Eagles' offensive line helped Saquon rush for 2,000 yards last year. And Jordan Mailata did say this offseason was rough as far as recovery because of how often they ran it last year. You got to kick it into gear at some point, and at some point soon before it's too late. Because these numbers are not good enough. The Eagles are running it a good amount. Rushes per game, they're 8th. Rush play percentage, 7th. But yards per rush is 3.5 yards per carry. 29th in the NFL with this offensive line and Saquon Barkley. It's shocking. Their rush yards per game under 100. 99.8, 25th. Rushing touchdowns per game, they're 4, but that's skewed because of the success of the tush push. Against this horrible Giants defense that cannot stop the run, you got to get the ground game going. And then in turn, the pass game will open up. And that brings me to this point. This Eagles offensive line must be on their A game. They were not against the Denver Broncos. And I previewed this all week. You knew the Broncos defensive line was going to bring it. They entered last week number 1 in sacks, number 1 in quarterback hits, number 1 in pressure percentage. What did they do against the Eagles on Sunday? 6 sacks. Now, at times, Jalen Hurts had a lot of time to throw, but the Eagles offensive line was also getting beat. And if they don't bring their A game against this Giants defensive line, could be a long night. And the Giants defensive line can take over and ruin the game and spoil what should be a get-right game for Philadelphia. Now, Jordan Mailata has played really well. Landon Dickerson, we'll see if he plays on a short week. He might not. Turf surface could factor into that. I think he needs to rest because he's looked terrible all year. Cam Jurgens got that big deal this offseason. Not right. Maybe it's because of the offseason back surgery. Tyler Steen has been pretty good. Let's give credit where credit is due. Lane Johnson's been pretty solid, but he's also been in and out of the lineup. But if you don't play well against this Giants defensive line, you could smell upset. Kayvon Thibodeau having a really good year. Dexter Lawrence, one of the top interior defensive linemen in the game. Raheem Nunez-Roches, very good player. You have Brian Burns at the other edge spot. Abdul Carter is a freak. They could take over the game if this Eagles offensive line doesn't play well. Now, they're better as pass rushers than they are against the run, so again, keep that in mind. Key to the game number 4, the Eagles have to clean up their idiotic mistakes. They have shot themselves in the foot too often this year. And in week 5, it finally burnt them and cost them against the Broncos. Against Denver, the Eagles were 2 of 11 on third downs. we saw a bunch of pre-snap penalties. A.J. Brown stopped running on a matchup that the Eagles worked on all week. Him out of the slot against a linebacker, then against the safety in the progression. He gets rerouted a little bit, stops running, and him and Jalen Hurts not able to connect on what would have been a 60-yard dagger of a touchdown, which would have put the Eagles up 24-3. Jahan Dotson along the sideline. You got to get 2 feet down and have better sideline awareness. Dotson doesn't get a lot of opportunities, right? Because he's behind Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and Saquon Barkley. When you do get an op, you have to make that play. And the throw is perfect. You had an opportunity to get 2 feet down, but you didn't. Tyler Steen, illegal man downfield on the RPO. This has been something that has really been a problem for the Eagles, and this comes down to coaching and offensive line awareness. You know you can't get downfield on an RPO. Saquon Barkley not getting set. Wipes out a huge 4th down conversion and a huge big stones, big nuts throw from Hurts, which could have changed the game, put the Eagles in field goal position, where at the very least, if they connect, they take the lead. If they score a touchdown, obviously that goes a long way in deciding the game. Instead, they had to punt it. And all the personal fouls. It's good to play with emotion, but you have to harness that. And then lastly, well, actually 2 more because I have a sneaky one that I want to get to. The secondary should be able to feast. This Giants wide receiver room without Malik Neighbors, I said earlier, it might be the worst in the NFL. Might be the worst wide receiver group in the NFL. Darius Slayton is their wide receiver 1. Wan'Dale Robinson is their wide receiver 2. You have Bo Collins, Gunnar Olszewski, and Jalen Hyatt. That is not going to help out a rookie quarterback, which is why I think the Giants need to make a trade for a wideout, even though they're going to be a bad team this year. But you need to develop your young quarterback. You need to instill confidence in him, and it's hard to do that with this slop at that wide receiver spot. And Quinyon Mitchell needs to play better. I'm sorry for the announcer jinx. In the first half, I said he has to be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, given what he did against Tampa Bay, what he did against the Rams and Davante Adams. But then in that second half, he really struggled against the big-bodied Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton caught 6 of 8 targets for 81 yards against Quinyon Mitchell, with 3 catches for 64 yards in the 4th quarter alone. Mitchell had previously never allowed more than 2 receptions or 49 yards to a receiver in an entire game. Courtland Sutton bested him, and it was a good learning experience for Quinyon Mitchell. I said I had one more thing to get to because we just got to continue to give you great analysis and content here on this show. This Eagles offense, we know about their struggles. They've been well documented, but one area specifically is killing them right now. They have to find answers against the zone, and if they don't, defenses are going to continue to play it. Jalen Hurts against man has literally been one of the top quarterbacks in the game this year. Completion rate, 76.7%. Number 1 among all quarterbacks. Passer rating, 124.2. 5th. Catchable rate, 88.4%. Number 1. Against the zone, he has a completion rate of 63.8%. Second to last among starters. His passer rating, 84.6, is number 28. And his catchable rate, 74.1%. That ranks 26th. Talented players can beat man. Scheme can beat zone. But the coaching and the scheme needs to be better. So too does Jalen Hurts. Predict the score. Eagles, Giants. The intensity is always brewing when these two teams meet up, regardless of record. And obviously, over the last decade, Philadelphia has dominated the G-Men. My prediction, Eagles go belt to ass on the Giants. This is the get-right game, and this is the win that propels Philadelphia the rest of the way. 33-17 is my final. Eagles dominate.